Hello and welcome. I'm Gimba Umar. Tonight, United Nations General Assembly opens in New York. Pope Francis cautions against environmental degradation, says a harm done to the environment is a harm done to humanity. President Muhammadu Buhari speaks from New York, expresses shock over tragic incident in Saudi Arabia where some Nigerians died performing the pilgrimage. And over 200 terrorists surrendered to Nigerian army at border town of Banki in Borno State. And Governor Adams Oshomole and former Bayelsa State Governor Timothy Silva trade words over controversial APC primaries in Yenagoa.
And on business news tonight, institution chiefs of the National Association of Securities Dealers will meet in Lagos next month to discuss developmental initiatives in the Nigerian OTC market.
On sports news tonight, FIFA President Sepp Blatter comes under intense scrutiny after Swiss prosecutors opened criminal proceedings against him.
We begin tonight with comments coming from President Muhammadu Buhari, who is attending the United Nations General Assembly in New York. The president, reacting to the Saudi Arabia Stampede, described it as a calamity while commiserating with the families of Nigerians who died alongside over 700 pilgrims. President Muhammadu Buhari believes that the Stampede at Mina, which claimed the life of a Nigerian journalist, Bilkisu Yusuf, and one Professor Tijani Miskin, is very tragic. The president ends his statement taking notes of assurances from the government of the Saudi Arabians that such catastrophe will not happen again and that this particular incident will be thoroughly investigated. Also, at the United Nations General Assembly in New York today, Pope Francis has condemned in very strong terms the degradation of the environment, calling it a harm to humanity. He says any harm done to the environment is not only offensive but unacceptable. He also spoke against what he calls oppressive lending systems, which smaller countries, particularly Africa, are subjected to. This is the first time the Pope Francis will be addressing the United Nations General Assembly since becoming the leader of the Catholic Church. He also addressed other topics, including girl education and drug trafficking. At a memorial at the September 11 Memorial Museum, the Pope prayed for those killed in the attack and also prayed for healing for families of victims.
Now to live as
It's been a very interesting week in New York where the world leaders are gathering for the United Nations General Assembly meeting. During today's session, the leader of the Roman Catholic Church, the Pope, was the center of attention when he urged world leaders to do away with nuclear weapons and bring an end to wars. This is the fifth time that the Pope of the Catholic Church is visiting the United States, with earlier visits in 1965, 1975, 1995 and 2008, with Pope Benedict XVI visiting the last. Pope Francis says that he was keen to continue the tradition of the Catholic Church of advocating government to uphold the greater common good. Nobel Peace Prize winner Malala Yousafzai was also present and took a cue from the Pope when she addressed the United Nations General Assembly and expressed concerns at the continuing outbreak of violence across the world, such as that witnessed in Nigeria, where the Boko Haram kidnapped young girls, and urged world leaders to help put an end to such incidents that deprive young girls of an education. Moving on to other stories, the Australian High Commissioner to Nigeria, Mr. John Richards, has said that Nigeria is making progress in spite of the daunting challenges the nation is currently facing at the moment. According to Mr. Richardson, Nigeria's peaceful election, as well as President Muhammadu Buhari's strong commitment to restructure the country, are encouraging. The Australian High Commissioner was a guest on our breakfast program, Sunrise Daily.
With some of the biggest potential and biggest challenges that you all know, but for a diplomat it's been very exciting to be there at a time where you see these challenges of development, not just economic development but institutional, political development in a very diverse country which has been given a relatively short time in history, if you look at other countries, to bring a range of diverse peoples, ethnic groups together under one, within one set of borders, and forge institutions without a great head start, as it were, in terms of the material and institutional foundations at the very beginning. So that's seeing that process and seeing how it's gone, particularly with the elections this year and a peaceful transition and strong commitment by the new administration to tackle some of the challenges. That's been a very positive thing to observe, very encouraging in that sense.
The Australian ambassador to Nigeria, Mr. John Richardson. And we'll take you very quickly back to our lead story, which we've been tracking to further look at the 70th session of the United Nations in New York. I'm now being joined by Margaret Bisher, the VOA correspondent to the United Nations. I want to thank you so much indeed for joining us at this time. Now, how many heads of state are in attendance at the 70th session of the United Nations? Let's begin with that.
Well, we're expecting over 150, but most of them may not be here until Monday when the annual debate actually starts. Right now, we've just started the Sustainable Development Goals Summit, and the leaders are starting to trickle in over this weekend.
So when is Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari expected to address the United Nations General Assembly?
Well, President Buhari is addressing the General Assembly annual debate on Monday afternoon. And he's due to speak pretty much any time now in New York today on the Sustainable Development Goals.
Now, let's take a look at what the Pope has been up to. He was the focal point, you'll agree, in today's session, but everyone seems to be gearing up for that crucial meeting between President Barack Obama and President Putin next week, Monday. What are the expectations from that meeting?
Well, it's going to be an interesting meeting, I think. It's the first time the two leaders have seen each other in several months. You know, there's a big cooling between the United States and Russia over the Ukraine and over Syria. And President Obama and President Putin haven't met in several months. I think they sort of waved to each other or brushed by each other in Normandy in France during the World War II anniversary earlier this year. But they haven't actually had much contact. So it'll be interesting to see. I think President Putin wants people to think his international isolation is over, and he wants to play it to a domestic audience, that he's coming with a plan on Syria. And perhaps he wants to act like the West isn't cooperating with him when he presents this plan. But the West will probably have some issues with the plan, most notably that Russia still supports Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. And Western leaders agree that Mr. Assad, who has gassed and bombed and starved his people, has lost his legitimacy as a president of Syria. So they're not going to accept for Mr. Assad to stay into a transitional government, whereas Russia is more keen on that idea. So we'll have to see how it goes, but I think there are a lot of complications going into the meeting, and I don't know that we should have great expectations for what will come out of it.
Margaret, let's talk about the developing countries, especially predominantly Africa, as regards the Millennium Development Goals. We understand the judicial framework for peace and development are already in place, and the focus is now the implementation. What are the world leaders saying regarding implementation of these goals?
Right, so actually the Millennium Development Goals are over. They finished in 2015. So what we're having now is today world leaders adopted the Sustainable Development Goals agenda, and this will implement what wasn't implemented from the MDGs, but it will also help all, basically call all countries to action, poor, middle income, rich countries, to implementing 17 goals now. The MDGs were 8, as you may recall, 17 goals. And as you mentioned, number 16 has to do with peace and security and justice and how it's all interlinked. Basically, you need a just society to be a peaceful society, and a peaceful society has to be a just society. And it all links up. There's an interconnectedness with security. So if we have justice and rule of law and good governance, we will eventually have peace and security.
All right. We also know that today, Yusuf of course, the Nobel Prize winner, Malala Yousafzai, brought up the security issues with Boko Haram in the center of it here in Nigeria's northeast. Based on those concerns, was there any mention of extra efforts that could be put in place to address the threats of the sect?
Well, I think Malala's focus is on education for girls. She did give a press conference here today. She did help launch the Sustainable Development Goals Summit. But as far as specific security plans or anything like that regarding Boko Haram, no, I'm not aware of any that she proposed. But I know that she is speaking very much here about the importance of educating girls.
In line with that, my direction actually, and what she did mention, is concerning the Chibok girls that were abducted by the extremist sect group Boko Haram. In that line, is there anything that the world leaders are trying to do to further try to get these girls released?
Well, I haven't, they're just arriving here today, so it's a little premature to say what they might do for the Chibok girls. But there will be a huge amount of focus this weekend on women, on girls, on conflict, women in conflict. Tomorrow, Saturday, there's going to be commemorations of the 20th anniversary of the Beijing conference, where U.S. Secretary of State, at the time First Lady Hillary Clinton, famously said, human rights are women's rights and women's rights are human rights. So tomorrow there's going to be a commemoration of this event.
I'm going to have to leave it at that. I want to thank you so much indeed, Margaret Beher of VOA, correspondent to the United Nations. I want to thank you so much indeed for your time and indeed your thoughts. In the meantime, the White House says that it would spend up to $45 million in defense services, including military training, to support African countries in their efforts to defeat the Boko Haram group. A statement issued by the U.S. National Security Council spokesman, Mr. Ned Price, says that it will enable the provision of critical airlift support and other assistance, including help to Lake Chad basin countries moving troops and equipment to the border region from which Boko Haram terrorists continue to launch attacks on civilians. Part of the statement reads, quote, "This assistance builds on training, equipment and logistical support that the United States is providing using other authorities," end of quote. The statement adds that the United States will continue to provide advisories and share information with its regional partners to enhance counter Boko Haram operations, as well as victim support and counter-violent extremism programming. Nigeria, Benin Republic, Cameroon, Chad and Niger Republic will all benefit from the U.S. assistance. And in part two, after the break, cultists clash in Rivers State, 13 people reportedly killed. Stay with us.
Not happy with your network? Want to experience the best the Etisalat network has to offer? Switching your number to the Etisalat network is easy and you can be done in no time. Walk into any Etisalat Experience Center. Show a valid means of identification. Get a brand new SIM and wait for it to be activated. Welcome to the Etisalat network, where quality counts and value lives. Switch to the Etisalat network today.
Etisalat, now you're talking. There is a reason Africa is called the new frontier. Once revered for our resources, today's wealth lies in our people. People who build the cities that shape the future. People who know an idea in one place means business in another. A generation for whom technology means there are no borders, no boundaries. We are the new lions in a brave new world, kings of the urban jungle. And there's a bank that puts the world in our pocket and the future in our hands. UBA, Africa's global bank.
My daughter-in-law, so how are you planning for my son's birthday? Mama, you have to cook for her the way my son loves it. Do you people have ogirisi there? No? It's okay. Okay, let me call you back. Mama Chiji, okay. Hi, Sobete Market. Please pack some ogirisi, achi, opo, Azumbasa, I am going to visit my son. My daughter-in-law. It's arranged, but you must use original red oil to prepare the soup. What? It's very scarce. I'll call you back. Mama Chijoke, please include Isio Morocco, Oha, and yellow garlic.
Now for 11 kobo per second on Glow, you can call all networks, so you can talk and talk till you tire.
My daughter-in-law, everything is now set. But don't forget that gold wristwatch I saw the last time I visited home.
Dial star 100 star 6 star 1 hash to activate.
That silk boo-boo.
To capture amazing pictures, they go beyond the limit. Here's the TV that goes beyond the limit. Beyond LED, the era of OLED TV begins now. LG OLED TV.
My name now Mr. Monday Abozo Iyama. I be confirmed mechanic for the whole of this area. If any engine get problem, na me wey dem dey call. Some customers go carry one kind yama engine oil. The engine was supposed to last for 5 years, it go just last for only 2 years. Since my friend introduced me to Oando Oleum, immediately I turn am for the engine like this. The engine goes dead, it's just the bam.
Introducing the new 5 Alive Pulpy Orange.
Where is the pulp? The pulp. Where is the pulp? Where is the pulp?
Taste the goodness of real orange pulp in every gulp.
Where is the pulp?
The new 5 Alive Pulpy Orange, now in your neighborhood.
Sure you know say with just 200 naira recharge, Airtel they summer me with 600 naira to yarn more with any network.
Relax. In fact, I don't buy your own Airtel SIM now every day.
Anytime I recharge 200 naira and above, Smart Connect they summer me with free internet. Buy your Airtel SIM today.
Airtel, the smartphone network. Trust. When we're young, we have to learn it. And as life goes on, we have to earn it. Trust makes you feel safe and secure. Trust brings people together and keeps them together. But how does it work in business where large sums of money are received and paid out? Who do you trust for safe and secure transactions? You trust a company that provides payment systems that are simple, swift, and secure, and provides unparalleled convenience. You trust InterSwitch. Because we are convinced that it takes more than money to make the world go round. InterSwitch, transaction solutions you can depend on.